The New York Rangers are making moves as an insider has revealed some surprising details on what Chris Drury is planning to do with the defense core heading into next season. We're going to break down that as well as an update on one defenseman in particular and his future as a New York Ranger. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your New York Rangers, this is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. So go down below, hit that free subscribe button, and you get to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Rangers. But let's dive right into it. One player that we have not been talking about has finally come up in talks as of the last little while, and Molly Walker, a New York Rangers insider, has revealed that Zack Jones could be returning to the New York Rangers, and it's actually looking very likely. Now, for those of you who don't know, Zack Jones does need a new contract, and we're going to get into it specifically in this video on what his contract could look like in terms of projections. But that's right, he needs a new contract. And for those of you who've been around on the channel watching the videos for a long time, you know, for better or for worse, I absolutely love Zack Jones. I think he's a great player, and I would like them to keep, I think that they should keep him. I think he would be a great player to have around, but it does have to make sense. Obviously, Zack Jones thinks very highly of himself, and I think that he is a great player, and maybe he could go somewhere else and make some more money, right? So that's an option. And at the same time, you know, I do wonder about the Rangers getting a little bit bigger on the back end as well, but we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But this is a new report from Molly Walker, and she said that the Rangers and Zack Jones have been discussing a possible extension at this point, and Drury has made an offer to Jones's camp. So clearly they want to keep this player. They want to keep this player in the organization. The question is, what does that contract look like? It's probably less than Zack Jones would like or feels like he is worth, is usually the case with any player in the NHL, you know, and especially in a situation that this team and Zack Jones are in. But, you know, he's a very interesting player. He's a smaller player, but we know he can score. He looked fantastic with Hartford when he was playing with Hartford. He's looked great in the NHL. There was this weird stint where he wasn't playing, and then all of a sudden Peter Laviolette was playing him, and literally nobody else for some reason. Like, he played like half the game at one point. I don't know if you guys remember that one week last season where, you know, it was literally just Zack Jones on the ice the entire game. It was weird, but anyway, you know, he does have a scoring touch. I like the way that he can move the puck. You know, pretty good skater. Again, a little bit smaller, but still can do all the things that you want him to do. And this is from NYR Louis. This would be very good. Zack Jones was probably their best left-handed defenseman last year. He'll be cheap and serviceable, and I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that he might have been their best left-handed defenseman. K'Andre Miller had a tough year. Now, keep in mind, Zack Jones does not play against the other team's toughest competition, which K'Andre Miller did do, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt for that reason. But Zack Jones was fantastic still. I think he's a great player. A lot of people don't like him just for his size. I honestly believe that's why most people don't like him. And listen, that's something that you have to address. But as long as you do have size on the team, having Zack Jones on the team isn't a bad thing. I feel like he is an NHL defenseman, and I wonder what he could do under Mike Sullivan. I don't think that they should necessarily move off of this player, especially at this point in time. I feel like he has a lot more to offer that we haven't seen. I also think he has the right mindset. I want to bring up a couple quotes from him. This was during his exit interview and his media availability following the season. He said, "I thought when I had some consistent time, I played well." And I would agree with that. When he actually got into the lineup, I thought he was making a difference. I thought he played very well, and has played very well every single time that he's been in the lineup. Obviously, every player makes a mistake and mistakes, but you know, I think that his value heavily outweighs the mistakes or any mistakes that he makes. I do believe that. Now, in terms of contract projections and what he might be making, this is from Scotia Stat Projections as well. Last season, 46 games. By the way, 2 seasons ago when he stepped up in absence of a guy like Jacob Trouba and he was playing, you know, a little bit more consistently because they needed him to, man, he was good. I thought he was fantastic during that time. And then obviously Trouba came back, the whole playoff run, all of that. And then last season didn't get too many games in. I say didn't get too many. He played over half of the season and he only had 11 points. But again, I feel like what happened last year, it was just not a good situation. Everybody's got to come into this season with a brand new mindset, and I think that is the goal. New coaching staff, all of that. I feel like he'll be a little bit better, and I don't even think he was that bad. Now, Again, 11 points. He is an RFA, so they do control their destiny, at least, I guess, with him, where it's like you can sign him for sure if he wants to sign for that amount that whatever Chris Drury offered to his camp, or you can trade him because you do, have the rights to him. Although, he could be up for an offer sheet, like if a team really wants him. So that's something to keep in mind too, because there's going to be offer sheets galore, I feel like, this year, unless teams start really getting a move on in the next week and a half. But his projected cap hit heading into next season would be $1 million. And I think for Zac Jones, yes, you're tight with the cap, but you have to think about that you're not signing this guy as like a maybe, or, okay, he's going to be a 7th or 8th defenseman, or maybe he's in Hartford. No, like he can play on the team. He can definitely play on this team, and probably full-time and probably the whole season, barring any injuries. So, if he's only going to cost $1 million, which this is just a projection, I would imagine it's not $1 million. I don't know what, Chris Drury has offered to him. Maybe it's somewhere in that range, maybe even a little bit less. But I feel like he wants a little bit more than that, and the salary cap is going up. So, again, I don't want to speak for the player. I just feel like that's kind of why it hasn't been signed yet, and this hasn't been, moving and progressed at all, is probably for that reason. But I feel like it's going to come in somewhere in that range, maybe 1.2, something like that. Keep in mind, you also still have to sign Matt Rempe and Will Coolie, and we're going to have a video on Will Coolie on the channel very soon as well, because that's something that needs to get done very quickly as well, in very short order. So just things to keep in mind. But again, really good advanced analytics. Like, he's just a good player. I think that, again, he's ready to be an everyday NHLer. And I just like his mindset, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, that, this is what he said around the trade deadline, because there's a lot of chatter about him potentially getting traded as well, right? And he said that, honestly, it was pretty loose, the mood in the room, and with himself. Obviously, losing guys like Lindy and Avizi hurt. They're two great guys, great players, and you never want to see guys go, but that's just the nature of the beast. I thought we played well. I thought we just had a great vibe in the room. Everything was lighthearted. Everybody was upbeat. It was good vibes going into today. Then obviously 2 points is 2 points. We need them right now, so we'll just take the win. Like, he just has a good mindset. Like, he's just ready to go. He's taking advantage of any opportunity that he gets. He understands that, with the situation the team was in, he wasn't always going to get that, although I'm sure that he wished he was in the lineup more. But he's just focused on winning and the points and all that. So I like that from him. And again, how he navigated coming in and out of the New York Rangers lineup last season, which again, if he does re-sign and they do retain him, he's going to play next year. I feel like he's an everyday NHL. And unless they make another significant upgrade on the blue line. Also, I should say, well into the video at this point, I should also say, I'm assuming, by the way, that they're going to sign a guy like Gavrikov, right? That Zac Jones would be a second pairing player on the left side there. I'm just kind of assuming that at this point, because you didn't free up all the salary cap space not to do anything. There is a plan in place, or at least they're going to try and do something. And he said, I said what I said this year, and I don't take it back. I stand by what I said. When you're in this role, and some days are better than others, and you get asked question, I know you guys have a job to do too, but at the same time, it kind of eats at you. And eventually I just kind of blew up, because he had, earlier in the season, he did have a moment where, he was pretty frustrated and he wanted to get into the lineup. But I don't think you should trade guys that are hungry to get into the lineup, want to play in the big situations and big minutes, and want to be a New York Ranger, especially if they're young players. I don't think it's a good thing to move off these players. So that's kind of the point I'm making. They should look at re-signing him. And again, there's a lot of moving pieces, because where's K'Andre Miller going? Looks like he's on the outs, because Elliot Friedman has reported they are out there and trying to make a trade happen after the Chris Kreider trade. They're not done yet. They're trying to trade K'Andre Miller, and if they can't, they're going to let him walk via an offer sheet. And if nobody offer sheets him, which I think would be very unlikely if he makes it to that point, then they might be in some trouble. They will have to look at trading him for sure, and maybe for a little bit less. But I feel like it is all coming to a head here at this point, and Zac Jones will be a good player to kind of slot in that position. I do believe in Zac Jones, but let me know in the comments how you feel about Zac Jones and if he can play that role heading into next season, because again, we are all assuming at this point that they're at least taking a look at a Mika Zibanejad trade as well to free up some even more cap space, and certainly a Carson Soucy trade. They're going to have to offload that contract as well, so that's going to free up some more salary cap space as well. And a lot of people are asking, who's going to take on Soucy? I feel like there's a team out there that would maybe not necessarily want him, but could use him. And the Rangers are going to have to take a loss on that one, because what they gave up to get him, they're not going to get back in return because of this situation. So they're going to have to take a look at that. But let me know how you feel about Zac Jones and if he can play that role next season. I'm a big believer in him. I feel like they should retain his services, and hopefully that gets done soon, because that's another thing, nobody's really talking about right now. Zac Jones is kind of just waiting in the weeds, because obviously in terms of RFAs, we know Keandre Miller is going to be either traded or offer sheeted, and that's all done with that. But Will Coolie is the next man up as well. That is something huge that Chris Drury has to get done. But let me know how you feel in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.